introducing something that's still playing. That was Repetition, composed by Matthew Hinson and performed by Michael Duke saxophones and David Howie playing the piano there. Now, our next guest is in the hot seat, and I haven't seen Kate for ages. Hello, Kate.
Hi.
Welcome to the studio, and you've got quite a few bits and pieces to get on with today.
Yeah, what I'll do is see how much I can get through, really. But I'll first of all mention, as you mentioned it in your intro to the show, the NICA Graduating Student Showcase Made to Measure, which runs from the 23rd to the 26th of November. So that's just the end of this week, isn't it? This one is emceed or hosted by Valerie Hex, who is the drag performer from Yummy. I saw her recently in Yummy Iconic. She's a hoot. The creative team at NICA has curated this, and there are 12 performers, I believe, in the graduating group. I talk about this because I worked there as one of the performance teachers for several years, and some of my students are, they're in Cirque du Soleil or one's working in Berlin doing extraordinary things in Japan, etc. So they each have a showcase of their particular skill or skills. Often they have two major skills that they work on. So get down there and have a look at that, because they're worth looking at, and they are really very, very clever generally every year. I don't know this cohort, but I'm sure it'll be fabulous. I would like to talk first about A Christmas Carol, because I saw it last night and it's fresh in my mind, and it was such fun. Really get out there and see it. It's on till 29th of December at the Comedy Theatre. It's A Christmas Carol, Dickens version, the ripping yarn, full of Christmas spirit, and by the end it's optimistic, it's heartwarming, it's dazzling on stage. It's a London production that was conceived by Matthew Warchus, who directed Matilda. Am I right? And the writer who adapted it, Jack Thorne, wrote the script for The Cursed Child and a bunch of other things. So it's very interesting. It's been running 6 years, 6 summers, 6 Christmases in London. They have a different celebrity actor performing the Ebenezer Scrooge character, and ours is David Wenham. You don't see him on stage much, and he is terrific in the role. So it's exhilarating. It's very Christmassy. It's a feast of carols and choral harmonies and mass bell ringing, actual bell ringing, snow, real snow, well, it's little bubbles falling from the sky, faith, hope, charity, even a veritable feast of fruits and veggies and meat platters and puddings and breads that all slide down from the balcony. This is in the second half, when he discovers Christmas spirit after his miserly period of forever. There are huge sort of like aeroplane slides, of long fabric, bolts of fabric from the balcony down to the stage, sliding fruits and foods, and giant turkeys walked up the aisle, and people are handing out mince pies and mandarins, and people are throwing things from the audience, and it's a romp. It is, by the end, everyone's cheering and smiling and grabbing at foods, and it is really delightful. There's pre-show musical entertainment. There are live musicians on stage, violin, cello, mandolin, clarinet, flutes, various things like that. And it's Thorne's script extracts crucial moments from the story, takes some license with dialogue, some very clever, funny sort of material in there, amidst some characters and scenes, because let's face it, Dickens' book would take hours, many hours to do. So I won't explain all of Ebenezer Scrooge and the story. Miser hangs on to his money, even sends away the carol singers because he thinks they're after his money. It's a beautiful stage. It's lanterns, old-fashioned lanterns hanging from the ceiling. Dozens, probably hundreds piled up on the floor, but dozens hanging in this beautiful sort of dewdrop light from the sky. When the snow flies through it, it's gorgeous. It's just worth seeing for that. So Wenham is magnetic. He's credible. He's beautiful as it. So look, I would just say great cast, choral singing, wonderful performance. Get out there and get a look at it. I could go on forever about that one, really. But I want to talk about Sunshine Supergirl, which is at the Melbourne Theatre Company until 14th of December, and that's Melbourne Theatre Company with performing lines from Sydney. It's written by and directed by Andrea James. It's about Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley. Completely different kind of show, although the stage is transformed by the physicality of the performers. It's set on a tennis court. So we're on two sides of the stage looking at it, essentially her playing tennis and a bunch of other people playing other roles. So the tennis is stylised and balletic. They're all dancers or with movement background, the performers. It's very difficult to translate a biography into stage because a life doesn't necessarily have a dramatic trajectory with high points and low points. But it was easier because Yvonne Goolagong's life did have those high points. When she wins Wimbledon in this performance, the crowd went wild. It was like we were all there, and she held up that cup. It brings tears to my eyes just now, as did the end of Christmas Carol. But it was so enlivening and heartwarming to be there and experience that with her. And she's just such a lovable character, played by Ella Ferris beautifully. She's very composed and charming and engaging and vulnerable and naive as well. So the dialogue is light and uncomplicated, even when Yvonne is forced to deal with her friends who are members of the Aboriginal Advancement League, who demand that she uses her celebrity for political purposes, but she rejects that. And she sticks to her guns. It's very interesting because it's raised, but it's not, we're not force-fed that sort of material, but it's very important that she chooses to say, I fight this battle with my tennis. She was the first woman to win the South African tournament. So just being there was her statement. Ferris is breezy and funny and sunny, and credible as Goolagong. It's charming, and the rest of the cast is a really lovely support. Well, just in our last seconds, mention Emilia. I can't review it because I didn't see the whole thing. Stayed for the first half. One of the performers, Heidi Arena, suddenly playing Shakespeare, who for some reason is a buffoon and a dolt, says, "Oh, I think I've pulled something in my shin," and the show stops. So that's halfway through. So at that point, because I wasn't particularly engaged, shall I say, it felt a bit sluggish, I thought, I won't see the rest of this, so I can't review it. But it's about the one woman who may have been the Dark Lady in Shakespeare's sonnets.
Right. So did you find out what happened to her?
Don't know any more than that. She didn't come back on. Someone else came back on reading the role from on book, as I assumed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so maybe just...
Injury.
Yeah.
And she wasn't doing much. She wasn't leaping about, so I'm not certain how it happened, but I wish her well.
Yeah, that's it's very unusual. You think you just sit down and do your role.
Yeah, there was nowhere to sit. But it is interesting because usually Doctor Theatre kicks in, and I've carried on with a show when I injured my back so badly I had to lean over and say, "Can you pick me up? Because you have to get me up and out of this chair."
Right.
And then they flew me to Melbourne after that. So Doctor Theatre sends adrenaline into the body.
Yeah, you'd think so. Oh, so what are you seeing next week, Kate?
Well, I've got another one that I've just seen that I didn't talk about, which is Joseph and his amazing Technicolor, etc.
Yeah.
Then there's Monsters at Malthouse and Simple Acts of Kindness at Red Stitch.
Excellent.
I think you're talking to someone, or somebody's talking to someone from there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kate.
Pleasure.
We love having you in the show.
Thanks.
You are listening to Arts Weekly on 3MBS. Back shortly.
Amazing food with an amazing view. Eastern Bell